So, Max Caster is getting ratioed on Twitter right now, and deservedly so? Maybe. Let's talk about it. Max Caster had a match on AEW Dark, which was pre-recorded from last week's Dynamite. That usually goes up like 6 to 5 days after the show airs. I believe this is Dark's 100th episode, so cool. He faced off, I believe he and Anthony Bowens faced off against the Seidel brothers, Matt and Mike Seidel, and I think ringside was Julia Hart. And usually Max Caster, he comes out and he cuts these rap style promos on his opponents, and I think that the Max Caster character is really innovative and different from any other wrestler on the AEW roster, and that's what makes him stand out. And I tend to like most of his raps. Some of them come across as corny to me, but none of them have really ever offended me or offended many other people up until this point. So right now, if you look on Twitter, you can't find the video, and you can't find it on YouTube. It was originally posted by AEW to AEW Dark before it got ratioed, and then they actually edited out that part of the video on Dark, so you can no longer find it on YouTube unless you find someone who uploaded it. Technically, I could upload it if I wanted to because I screen recorded the entire thing, planning to make a TikTok on it, but I'm not going to do that because AEW, if you go to Twitter, they have copyright claimed, I think, everybody who has reposted that video. Now, it's funny to me because AEW, Aubrey Edwards, you go around people saying, oh, automatic copyright claims. Like, they've copyright claimed Chris Danker, I think, a few days ago from his YouTube channel. They copyright claimed him despite him actually being on AEW's video game channel. They copyright claimed him. A few months ago, they copyright claimed a bunch of YouTubers, and months prior to that, they copyright claimed and strike down a bunch of YouTubers. So now they're at it again, but this seems manual. There's no way they copyright claim this automatically due to all the hate he was getting. I almost 100% can assume this was manually done. But because these are manual copyright takedowns being done by AEW, I'm not going to repost or reuse any audio. I did a transcription of the video, and I'm going to read off to you exactly what Max Caster said. We're going to go over exactly if it is worth him being canceled on the internet. So Max Caster comes out for his match, microphone in hand, saying yo, whatever the case. So he starts off by saying, the acclaimed kicking ass for miles make you claim mental health like Simone Biles. The Seidel's gonna pay the cost. I'ma treat those bitches like Duke Lacrosse. The blondes say they the best, but those dudes are faker than a PCR test. And what's the smell here in North Carolina? Oh wait, that's Julia's, and then he gets cuts off by Max Bowens, but we can assume what he was about to say next. That was in a span of 40 seconds. The crowd in attendance didn't really react to it. I mean, there were some oh, but nobody booed, nobody really cheered. He just kind of said it, and then it kind of just went there. I don't know if it was an awkward silence or what it was, but there really wasn't a big reaction to it live in attendance from the video that I saw. The reaction came from people on social media. So now that I've read what he said, let's break it down and see why people were so offended by it. So his first stanza, or whatever the case may be, he says, the acclaimed kicking your ass for miles make you claim mental health like Simone Biles. So I'm sure most of you got that reference by now. Simone Biles, I call her Simone the Goat Biles because she's so fucking great at what she does. She's an Olympic athlete. She obviously was in the Olympics this year and pulled out of the Olympic Games due to both her physical and mostly her mental health. And this caused a division between many people online. I know somebody online was very much against Simone Biles pulling out of the Olympics.
What I love has been kind of taken away from me to please other people. Yeah, that's the point, Simone Biles. You're representing your nation, you selfish sociopath.
But most people were in support of this, and I'm among those people who are in support of her pulling out due to her mental health. Also want to add this little tidbit in. There's more news coming out about Simone Biles pulling out of the Olympics that's apparently due to her aunt passing away during the Olympic Games, and that's a great, part about why her mental health probably was not in the right state of mind during the games and why she pulled out. So I just wanted to state that as part of the reason, and just to get it out there for a lot of people who may not know why she pulled out in the first place. 100% support her pulling out of the Olympics. But Max Caster saw this as an opportunity to really take a dig at Simone Biles for pulling out of the game, basically saying that they're gonna beat up the Seidel brothers so badly that they're gonna pull out of the wrestling match. And I feel like this joke, yes, I believe it's not really like a funny thing to make fun of somebody's mental health, but it didn't really insult me. And it didn't really, I wasn't offended by this comment, because I feel like if this were like a roast session that I saw on Wild and Out, or in like at a gathering or in real life, I feel like people would have just probably just laughed it off. Like, I feel like if this were in a real-time setting, I don't think it would have been as offensive. It's only offensive because it was on TV. I feel like it's one of those cases where if this were in a isolated setting, it would not have been that offensive, but because it's on a grand television plastered setting, it gets blown out of proportion. If this were on Family Guy, if this were on South Park, and this were seen as, you know, parody or satirical humor, I don't think it would have been that bad. Like, I don't think anybody is immune to having a joke cracked on them, so like, this personally did not offend me. However, I can see how it offends other people. The next one, however, I don't know about the next one. The Seidels gonna pay the cost. I'm gonna treat those bitches like Duke Lacrosse. So for the Duke Lacrosse joke, that is a reference to and I'm going to bleep this out for YouTube purposes. That is a joke. I was not really aware of the Duke Lacrosse situation until I looked it up, so I'm going to actually read what the Wikipedia says. So according to Wikipedia, the Duke Lacrosse case was a widely reported 2006 criminal case in Durham, North Carolina. So I guess that makes sense as to why he made the joke, but let's continue. In which 3 members of the Duke University men's lacrosse team were falsely accused of the 3 students, all white. The accuser was Crystal Magnum, a black student at North Carolina Central University, who worked as a stripper and a dancer. The beep was alleged to have occurred at a party hosted by the lacrosse team held at the residence of the 2 team captains. So basically, these 3 men of a North Carolina college, you know, allegedly raped this woman. So the reference is that he's gonna the Seidel bro. I don't even see why that was even used in this promo. That was very unnecessary. And like I said earlier, I feel like there really aren't any exceptions to jokes. I feel like you can make a joke out of literally anything, and just because you can make a joke out of anything doesn't mean it's going to be accepted or well received. And when you make jokes about very touchy subjects, like, it's never going to go over well. So I'm like, yeah, that wasn't poor taste. And like I said earlier, the only reason why I see why he made this joke is because Duke Lacrosse is a college or happened in North Carolina. That's the only reason why I see him making this joke. Even if this joke were in that sense, it was still unnecessary and it was disgusting personally. So yeah, no, I don't like this joke at all. It should not have aired. The next one, the blondes say they're the best, but those dudes are thicker than a PCR test. That's barely offensive. And then the last one, and what's the smell here in North Carolina? Oh, wait, that's Julia's. And then he got cut off, but we can all assume he was about to say vagina. This is another joke where I feel like if this were in an isolated setting, or if this were done on like a Wild and Out or another platform, it wouldn't have been as offensive. Now, I could see how it would be offensive to Julia Hart, but I would like to believe, now this is all what I like to believe, and the only way I would be offended by this joke is if Julia Hart herself was offended by the joke, because this joke was at her expense. And since this is on TV or YouTube or done by a company, I would like to assume that Julia Hart cleared this joke and that Max Caster didn't just go off the rails and just throw her in that spot unwarranted. Now, if it comes out that Julia Hart had no like semblance that this was going to be said, then yeah, fuck Max Caster, that was dirty of him to say that. But if she okayed it, then I don't feel like people should really get up in arms about it. Like, once again, this is a joke where the person that was made involved should be the only one offended by it. I mean, other people can, you know, have their opinions about it, but if Julia Hart okayed it, I don't see what's wrong with it. So I'm going to wrap it all as this. Me personally, the only joke in here that I felt like should have not been said at all was the second one and maybe the last one, but that's only if Julia Hart did not approve of the joke. Like, the first one, you can kind of around, and then the third one is not offensive at all. As a whole, this should not have even been said. Like, you're on a national television program and you're saying these stuff, and we're in an era where these kind of stuff is going to be taken offense by a lot of people. And I hate to get into the fact that, oh, we live in a PC era and people back in the day get offended by this stuff, but the fact of the matter is, these days, this stuff does trigger people. And being on a mainstream platform like AEW, Max Caster should have been aware of this was likely to happen. And that's why I get into the last point. AEW allowing this to happen. I don't know how the act goes in AEW about getting promos approved. I mean, I believe from what I was told and what we've heard, a lot of the promos are written and done by the talent themselves, and maybe people go over them and make sure they're okay to get cleared on television. So I don't think anyone scripted this for Max Caster to say he wrote it himself, but then it relies on AEW because they are his employer. So if they saw there's something wrong with it, they should have edited this out of AEW Dark. There's nothing they could do about him saying it live during that act except reprimand him after the fact. So they should have edited this out of the Dark taping, but they did not. So this falls back on AEW for allowing this to happen. Any backlash AEW gets is all on them for not taking the initiative to edit this out. That's how I see it. I see a lot of people online calling for his head, saying that he should be fired. I don't think he should be fired for this. Like, these aren't things that were actively done. And I don't think there were any, like, they weren't like directed with hate, because at the end of the day, these are raps, and raps are meant to push the limit. There are things that are excused in raps that if you said in a normal setting would not be excused. So because in the formatting in which he was trying to say it, I don't think he should be fired. I kind of think back to the whole Sammy Guevara incident, where Sammy Guevara actually said, and not in a rap setting, not in a roast setting, that he was going to, you know, Sasha Banks as a joke. And he got, you know what, suspended for about a month without pay. I don't know, maybe suspend Max Caster for a week without pay. Like, I don't think I think what he said is offensive, yes. But I feel like because Sammy said it in a setting that could have been perceived as him being serious, and Max Caster said it in a setting that I feel like many other people can do, and it would not be seen that way. Like, I don't think he should be fired, and I don't think he should really be suspended, but I do think that someone should pull him aside and say, hey, don't let this shit happen again. Like, I think that's at least what should be done. At the very least, someone needs to pull him aside and say, this is not okay. And from now on, we're going to watch and listen and read what you're going to say before it happens. Like, I feel like they should just do a better job at making sure this does not happen again. At least that's what I think. What do you guys think? Should Max Caster be fired? Should he be suspended? What should happen? Was it even that bad? Comment down below. Let your boy know. This is Tyler-kun Williams. Also Suplex on TikTok. Suplex with 2 X's on Twitch. And at TylerMansYT on Twitter. I love you as always, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace out, guys.